This is my presentation on decision making at CEO level. Uh, the company I've utilized for this presentation is United Airlines. With vaccinations rolling out around the United States, consumers are ready to travel, with March hitting the peak first day of travel since COVID-19 took off. United States is currently at a 56% fully vaccinated rate, with 65% having received one dose. Domestic tourism and travel are at a higher percentage rise than international tourism in almost every category outlined in the U.S. travel and tourism overview. Paired with the uncertainty of restrictions around the globe due to the pandemic, it is not surprising that American Airlines has shifted its assets from low volume international routes to meet the demands of the domestic market. Reassigning similar assets, just as American Airlines has within the United Airlines network, could be a great way to use or take advantage of the marketplace within the current domestic marketplace. Due to the drop in revenue from 2019 to 2020, a massive reduction in operating expenses was needed to ensure that the company would be able to stay afloat during the pandemic. This led to the United Airlines to lay off over 3,600 employees after previously were laying off 1,400 management and administrative staff employees. As the market climbs back up and stabilizes, United Airlines will need to re-engage with the market, or re-engage with talent rather, and reacquire them. Projections show that potentially by 2024, the airline marketplace could be back to a stable space. So they're going to have to potentially act fast. Delta Airlines, one of their main competitors, currently isn't requiring a vaccination, whereas United Airlines is. So United Airlines should be conscious of a potentially slightly smaller pool of applicants to pull from. United Airlines has raised over $26 billion of liquidity since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. $1.4 billion of the liquidity. Our annual cost savings, the company has been able to identify and establish, while also being able to create a roadmap to be on track to increase that value to over $2 billion here by the end of the year. United Airlines has really taken this time and this strategy to find and ensure lean operations are being implemented where possible. And a great opportunity to maybe implement another solution would be to look at lean deployments. In particularly, the Hoshin Kari planning could be a great option or a great implementation, as it provides a step-by-step process to ensure that each deployment or each investment, whether it be big or small, actually does curate and contribute to the bigger picture goal, and doesn't exceed the resources available to the organization. United Airlines announces that the second quarter of 2020 was the hardest financial quarter of its 94-year history, reporting an average of $40 million a day in the second quarter, not including principal payments and severance expenses. United Airlines needed to find another solution on how to handle the cash flow it was experiencing each day. Utilizing financing resources, United Airlines has been able to drop that value down to $25 million a day, with only an increase of $3 million in daily principal payments and severance expenses. By the end of the third quarter, United Airlines was able to generate over $17 billion in liquidity. This value essentially is an accumulation of the finance values highlighted above, paired with additional finance options, utilizing the company's physical assets as collateral, along with other solutions that has been able to obtain. United Airlines saw a 4.73% increase in revenue from 2018 to 2019 in a pre-COVID market. The COVID-19 pandemic took over the airline market in 2020 with an array of travel restrictions, travel bans, and customer concerns. This would affect the United Airlines market and total revenue of 2020 by a loss of 64.5%. With the release of the COVID-19 vaccine in 2021, the airline industry has seen a rise in travel and tourism, that has brought life back to the industry. Delta Airlines has reportedly seen a 20% increase in booking revenue in 2019 via Delta Vacation Services. This service allows Delta to essentially streamline its customers' needs by providing it a portal in which it can do hotel bookings. This has allowed Delta Airlines to vertically integrate into the hotel and booking industry without having to make any sort of physical investment into a hotel or similar asset. If United Airlines could integrate a similar feature, it could provide United a great vertical integration point, while also offering its customers yet again another feature to rely on. Due to the travel bans and restrictions, United Airlines has had to reduce its flights to India and delayed the deployment of its Bangalore launch. Travel restrictions could include passenger limits, testing requirements, and the requirements of flights to operate within specific timeframes. With the uncertainty of the pandemic in the Indian market, continuing the dedication of assets to routes does hold the risk. If a flight to India has an average number of passengers, being 90 passengers, paired with an average ticket cost of around $1,025, multiplied between the two, you would receive about $92,250 per day, because unfortunately the flight is 14 hours, so you can only feasibly get one flight in per day. With that, if we were to have some kind of restriction, that would potentially cut down capacity in half because we have to have the space in between passengers. That could potentially drop the per day revenue potential down to $46,125. And then altogether, when the restrictions or when the conditions get so bad, at times we have to put these routes on hold. That could potentially put a minimum of the $46,125 value of revenue loss potentially up to the $92,250 value. Whereas on the flip side, if we were to invest into another domestic route, direct flight routes, this one is San Francisco to New York. We can fly this route 4 times within the day because of the duration of the flight, which would give us the potential of a $93,711.60 per day for this route. So depending on where the market goes and depending on the restrictions, it may be better to shift assets from specific international routes and may not be able to hit full market value or full investment and shift it to something that is going to be able to meet a market need as the domestic market takes off. Yeah, so that is my presentation on United Airlines decision making at the CEO level. Thank you. Please have a great rest of your afternoon.